What a nice aroma in the empty cup. My goodness gracious. This next tea I'm going to make for you is the Huangshan Maofeng. And I want to make it a little bit different. So I've been talking a lot about combining steeps and making tea sort of using a parallel of the pulse system for brewing coffee in a coffee bar. I'm going to do the 5 grams that I've been recommending. I am going to set my kettle for 93 degrees centigrade. So again, before you start brewing your tea, you want to make sure you have everything you need. So you're going to have a temperature variable kettle, you're going to have your gaiwan. In this case, I have a slightly larger fair cup or a decanter, slightly larger cup, still a very small cup, and a timer. I like to just count up with my timer. So the moment the water touches the tea, I'm actually going to press start on the timer. What is a rinse? A rinse is essentially just filling the water just above the tea line, and then you can empty that into the tea sink. The scale that's on my tea sink right now, that is not normal practice because you want to be able to make a big mess. I'm just having it there so that it's easy for the camera to see what I'm weighing here. So I'm going to fill to 80 grams and I'm going to let it brew for about 15 seconds. And now I've just passed the 15-second mark and I'm going to tilt the lid back a bit, empty the leaves. It has been steeping the leaves. That's that quick infusion. So that's a gongfu extraction. Low amount of water, high amount of leaves. I'm going to continue this process. Normally I would pour that into the cups and I would drink that. But rather than doing that, I am going to make another extraction. Filling it to 80 again. And I'm going to let it go for about 20-25 seconds this time. If you find that it's tasting a little bit weak, brew a little longer. If it's tasting a little strong, brew a little shorter. I like to start off, though, my flag post in the sand is 15 seconds for that first brew after a rinse. Green teas, white teas, I like to brew at around 93. But greens really do well by this sort of 88 to 93 degrees centigrade. So that's pretty achievable for most elevations. So I'm going to let this one brew another 25-30 seconds. You can, of course, speed this process up. If you use 6 grams instead of 5, you could then put more like 100 grams of water. This, for me, is going to be my final extraction. I'm going to let that one brew for a full 35-40 seconds. So keep adding a little bit of time each time. Now, by combining the steeps, I could say that maybe you're, defeating the purpose of using, I guess, the gongfu method, but I actually think that you get nicer texture, better flavor. It's a really nice way of brewing a lot of tea. If you're making this at home and you want to have gongfu in the morning, but you just don't have the time for it because you're going to be blasting off to the office or work or what have you, you can always set up a station like this, pour off a little bit of each steep into a cup, and you can actually combine steeps into a thermos. And you can be drinking the gongfu that you made that day in your thermos all day. And it's a lovely way to have your tea. So now I've brewed a nice emerald green extraction. I'm going to pour that into the cups here. And I really get that Maillard. You get the beautiful aromatics in the nose, like cooked legumes. Good amount of acid, lots of nice flavors, a bit smoky. But again, another tea that's been holding up really well. A lot of our customers are serving coffee. We supply a lot of cafes. And so when I talk to them about gongfu and this sort of large dose of tea, small amounts of water, I think all they see is lineups and not being able to handle lineups and things slowing down and all of that stuff. And I was at a specialty coffee shop and they were making a beautiful tetsu method for making a pour-over coffee, which involves a pulse method of weighing the different amounts of water that are going to go through the coffee, and they're going to extract the beautiful flavor. And it just really struck me how similar that whole time investment is, comparatively speaking, to a gongfu, especially if you're going to combine the steeps. And you're going to be done like 4 extractions in. It's going to have good flavor strength. It's going to taste really interesting, and you're going to be done in 3.5 minutes, which is, you know, if you're doing a pour over coffee, generally speaking, it's right in the ballpark. And what a nice aroma in the empty cup. My goodness gracious. Wow. If you're in a cafe, think of it like a pulse method for making a pour over coffee. It's going to make your tea taste so much better.